Welcome to RGBA, colorful tech news and reviews. This is episode 93. My name is Alexandre Vallière-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tade Ménard. So we now have a bit more information about how Apple will now circumvent law enforcements that are using some techniques to bypass the iPhone security. A couple of episodes ago, we discussed the gray key and the way that they could plug a device into this little box to get its content. And I was theorizing that Apple would eventually circumvent this, and probably by doing something original or by just changing something very simple in the system, not necessarily having to find the actual flaw that they are exploiting. And they basically did just that. A couple of weeks ago, well, I think it's a week or two ago, they announced that they would be blocking access to devices after a certain period. But now we understand that it's even more than that, is after a single hour of use or of being in sleep mode, if you try to plug a lightning cable on the phone, it will not work until you punch in your PIN, sorry. So this means that for everyone in the world, it's the same as we already have with your iTunes. If you plug in your phone, it says to authenticate, and then you just put your finger and that's it. In this very specific case, if it's been more than an hour since the last time you use a device, you'll need to punch in your code instead. So it's a slight little difference there, but the big impact is now that as soon as the law enforcement have access to iPhones running this new version of the iOS system, they won't be able to use any physical method to get into the device because it will now be blocked until they punch in the PIN. And if they don't have the PIN, it's too bad. They can't do nothing. So they will still need to reverse engineer or maybe try until the phone is locked forever, a couple of sequences, but that's all they can do right now because there's no way to brute force access to the phone using the cable. So I think it's a good thing, especially if you look at different stories. I'll have to put it in the show notes because I just thought about something. I think I saw this last week. A person went to China for whatever leisure or business, whatever. And once they crossed the
customs,
the guy at the custom took his phone. He asked him if he had an Android phone. He said yes. He gave his Android phone. He plugged it into a computer. He loaded an app on it because he was able to see it from whatever he was standing, the guy. So there's an app that popped up on his phone. The guy from the customs tapped the app, and then it disappeared, and it was removed from his list of apps. And then they used a computer and a tablet to confirm that the phone was being surveyed on. And then he gave back the phone to the person and have it go, have a nice weekend or whatever. So this guy now comes in with it and says, I have a phone. I got two phones, actually, him and his wife, with Chinese power on it. What can I do to really clean them up? And there are security researchers who actually are asking him, like, how much, like, I would like to pay you big money for those devices. Don't touch them. Just tell them how much you want. Yeah, as is. Because that's one rare occasion where you can have first-hand access on the type of spyware that the Chinese government is using. So that kind of thing would not be possible with an iPhone. And in any case where there's a problem like that at some customs, or where you're hold on to for a longer period, you just don't use your phone. And then when they want to try to do something with it, you hand it over, they'll try to plug it in, and they will never be able to do anything with it. So it's a good security, I guess.
I feel like we're having one of these every week or so.
Yeah, it's a privacy, security, this cat and mouse game of trying to get into people's phone and people's data is happening every week, effectively, yes. So moving on to a long form article written by our good friend Federico Vitici. Of course, I was expecting this article as soon as we heard the news from the WDC about shortcuts and the new workflow app that is becoming shortcuts. Does a big rundown of what this app is, what does it entails, how to add shortcuts easily, what's the difference, what's the new features and everything. So it's a long form article, so it's a couple thousand words for sure. And it's very interesting if you're wondering what's going to happen with your existing workflows and how everything will change once you get to the iOS 12 final release. Then he has everything, and even has like examples of videos from sessions. So it's pretty interesting. I would strongly recommend you read this article.
Did you try building any? Well, we can't build shortcuts right now, but did you play with like the Siri shortcuts, like the cheap one that you have in the settings app?
Yeah, I did, and it's awful. Not the app itself, but Siri as usual. Yeah. I'm trying like my daughter recently got an iPhone SE, and I want to track her using Find My Friends, and I asking Siri, where's my daughter name? And I don't know why, but I always have problems with Siri on my phone. Probably something related to the way I speak, but the first couple of words are always cut. No matter how long I wait after the audio signal, and if I don't wait for the audio signal, same thing. So mostly it's useless for me, because I tried just this morning to change the sentence to something different, something shorter, and they could only pick up like the last two words of what I'm saying instead of 4 or 5. So it's ridiculous. But and I can, if I do edit, I can just switch between other suggestions, but I cannot type in exactly what I want. So I'm still stuck to use Siri, which never works for me. So at this point, I recently cleaned my grills on my phone, so I'm not sure if they're still dirty or something, but I'll probably need to do another pass at that, because at this point, I'm not even sure if it's a physical problem or a software problem.
Do you have anything else? Try it on your Mac or something. Remember, your Mac has Siri.
It's been removed from everywhere if I can.
I know, I don't have it activated either.
Removed it also from the damn touch bar, which was a pain in the ass.
Do you have it on, how was it on the HomePod? Same thing?
It was better, but at least it could catch every word I say. But I think it understands me correctly, but it never gave me the content I wanted. So, or rarely. So it's very hard, especially when you know a specific song by a specific artist, and you give it everything you need, and you get some rando track from somebody else. That's really getting on my nerves.
And what about, you had a Google Home once, no?
Yep, I tried it for a couple of weeks last summer, I think, a year ago, and it was much better. Like everything I told it, it understood what I said properly. Some of the things that I asked, it could not respond appropriately, but whenever I ask a song or something, it was always the right song. So there's much more than just a list of song or a list of trigger words, or like a rendering of words from voice. It's much more than that. It's both the data and the recognition that seems to be missing for Siri.
And we have Alexa now in Canada, but you never tried Alexa, I guess?
Yeah, no, never tried. I tried to ask for review unit for Amazon, but they're not really too keen on that, because they know that everybody's gonna basically buy their device at the price they are. So I'm just being cheap and not buying it. So Stephen Hackett from 512 Pixel posted a dark mode rundown. He went over the feature, and not just like, oh, here's dark, here's light, wee difference. No, he really went much more deeper than this. He compares it to inverse mode. He compares it with different apps. And then he actually went to the sessions or watched the sessions. I'm not sure. But there's actually like a whole NS appearance thing in the app preferences when you set up your app, and you have a bunch of options regarding colors, and to really fine tune exactly, because it's not just a matter of flipping like white for dark gray and calling it a day. You really need to make sure that the fonts that are written in black are not necessarily just transformed to white. Like there's shades difference, and if you have color, let's say you have a text written in red, well, red on dark gray is not the greatest, so you need to maybe switch to orange. So there's all of those things. Like you need to set the vibrancy, they call it, and there's a ton of options there. So it really is not just like a little dumbed down, let's switch to black and that's it. It really is a whole new like way to design your colors for your interface. So that's pretty interesting. Did you install macOS thingy?
No,
on your,
I wanted to do it on a USB key and then boot off the key just to try it, but I haven't come to it yet.
All right.
And I was kind of, sort of, almost going to do it, just say the hell with it, and I'm going to install it on my personal laptop, or I might even install it on, does it work for how far back do they go? Do you know? How far back do they support for Mojave?
MacBook
12?
Pro 2012, I think.
Okay, I think I might even install it on my girlfriend's, like the dedicated, we're watching TV, we have a question laptop.
Isn't that what the HomePod is for?
Also, but sometimes the laptop is a bit quicker. Or just to control the Hackintosh and all that. We have a 11-inch Air.
Okay, yeah. Perfect little couch computer. And since we're talking about hardware, let's jump in the next news, which is the state of the sad state of the Macintosh hardware from the Rogue Amoeba blog. They did a little rundown of the old devices, and if you look at the number of days since the last update, it's pretty crazy. Like Mac Mini is now leaked days ago, so 1337 days ago. Mac Pro is 436 days ago. Even MacBook Pro is 374 days, so it's more than a year already. Same thing for MacBook Air, which was not really a great update. It was just like a CPU bump. MacBook, same thing. iMac, same thing. And the iMac Pro is already 6 months old. So there's a lot of things to be said about Apple not really refreshing their devices. In the past, it was because of Intel CPU shortage or Intel not delivering the new generation quick enough. But I don't know at this point, because I know there's new CPUs that are using the iMac Pro. There's a couple of new series of CPUs that are on the wild right now. So I'm guessing it's not a CPU problem anymore. Is it because people were complaining for the last year and they decided to spend more time fixing the hardware? We don't know, but at this point it's getting crazy. Well, let's just not talk about the Mac Mini too much, because this one is just plain sad. How many years is that? Like 4 years? 5 years?
It's 3 years. 3.66 years.
Yeah, 3.66 years. That's a lot of years for a Mac Mini, because this little guy could have just benefited from a CPU and just like keep the same casing and everything, just replace the CPU with a better version, maybe also the upgrade on the motherboard, and that's it. Like, you call it a day and people would be fine. But because that's not the case, people like Jason Snell, has always been a faithful Apple enthusiast and journalist, he always used Mac Mini as servers in his house. Sometimes one, sometimes more than one. But now he's getting to a point where last year, if you remember, he did a post on how to fully spec out a Mac Mini by buying cheaper parts on the market. So he changed the drive for an SSD. He also added a bunch of memory, like over the limit that what Apple is recommended. And like his Mac Mini is super spec'd out, and there's no way that he can do anything else on it. But right now, it basically serves as a stand for his little Intel NUC. So Intel has been making for many years little computers that are next unit of computing. That's what it means, the NUC. And it's very, very small, like actually like maybe a third of the size of a Mac Mini computer with the whole thing, like motherboard, CPU, RAM, and sometimes even GPU. And everything is in a super small box. It comes in with a bunch of ports. You got like USBs, you got HDMI, DisplayPort, everything is in there. And that's what he now uses, because his last Mini was updated in October 2014, and there's nothing he can do about it to make it run faster. And now we're at a point where just for media consumption, we start to have 10-bit video, we start to have 4K videos. Like, it's getting a point where like this little Mac Mini cannot hold the race with the more recent hardware. And also the crazy thing is the price of the NUC is super, super, super affordable. They start very, very low. So if you have like basic need, you can get one for like $200 to $300. But then if you add specs to it, you can increase the price. You can get them to some very crazy, like $1,000 kind of thing. But still, it's not that far fetched considering that you have this year's CPU, you have the latest RAM, you have super fast SSD, so nothing in there is a problem for me. So if Intel can do it, I think Apple should really wake up, because once everybody jumps over the fence to those little NUC thingies, there needs to be a real big story for them to come back to a Mac Mini.
I think the Mac Mini is done. Like they're never going to touch it again. It's just going to stay like that.
Okay, that's sad.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's what I think. I think it's finished.
No.
A guy at work was using one until this week.
What happened? It broke down?
No. He just got an upgrade to a Touch Bar MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay. Okay, for his work computer. Okay.
Yeah.
Mac Mini. Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why he got that. People have iMacs, and he got a Mac Mini.
Yeah, probably that he wanted something ASAP, and that's all they had at the moment.
No, because he started at the same time as another guy, and he got an iMac.
Shit.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole hardware, like what you get when you come in is really weird.
Yeah. I actually have one at work on my desk, a Mac Mini, but its only purpose is to run a Slack bot. So
yeah, that's an expensive Slack bot.
Yeah, but like we asked IT for something, like we have like a little Windows computer, little like Raspberry Pi kind of computer, and all they had was a Mac Mini. So I said, okay, fine. But it's not an SSD, so it's super long to boot, super long to control. Even when I VNC in the device, it's awful. So I just have it run a Slack bot in the background, and that's it.
Can't you run like a Slack bot on Heroku?
Yeah, I can, but I don't know why the guy before me said it there, but it's running fine.
If it ain't broken, don't touch it.
Yeah, exactly. It's overkill for sure, but it's good enough. All right, moving on to something that I was really hoping to see soon is the new HoloLens version 2 from Microsoft. So that's the VR, AR headset, well, actually AR headset from Microsoft. It's going to be launching in 2019, and it's going to use the new Qualcomm XR1 VR chip. But I don't care about the specs. I just wanted to see the looks of it, and it's much better than what we saw in the past. Still quite a big headset, quite intense because there's like tracking cameras and sensors around it in the middle, and you have some thick glasses kind of thing. So it's weird, but I think that in the end, if it really does what they're promising, it's going to be quite interesting to see actual AR product in the wild that are, I'm not sure if it's going to be affordable, but it looks interesting. The XR1 chip can do 4K at 60 frames per second. So I think for AR, it's okay. For VR, it has to be more than that, because I think under 90 frames per second, you have motion sickness. But in this case, for AR, I think it's enough. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out.
I have no interest in this.
You don't say. No, seriously, like having like a living room experience with your coffee table, no?
Nope.
Okay, not just even like a
give me a LG B8, please. That's it.
Just a big TV,
yep.
OLED TV, and that's it.
Yep.
Okay,
I understand how do you? I watch TV. I don't watch TV alone a lot. Like, how do you share this experience? I don't know. Like, how do you watch a movie together? You can't. You have to both have your headphones on. And hey, did you see that last scene? It was super cool.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, for VR, it's the worst. For AR, at least you're in the same world as the other people around you, so you're not isolated into a virtual world. So it's better because if your kid comes to talk to you, you can still talk to them. You can see them. Like, it's not like if you're alone in a special world. But yeah, for sharing an experience, it still needs to be something to be enhanced, and also we need like an app story for that. Like how good is it gonna be for movie viewing, for game playing? Like, there's lots of things that we need to try first before we can get it actually right. So it's gonna be a couple of years with experimentation. And I think in the end it's going to be interesting, but for sure the first versions will be weird. Like VR is and still is after a couple of years. Like, they're nice demos, but not a lot of people are playing this like for 5 or 6 hours straight, because first of all, it's very hard physically, because all your senses are kind of messed up with because of what your eyes and your brain can see. But at the same time, the games and everything, they're starting to be interesting. There's a bunch of them that were crappy because they did not know what they now know, and it's going to get better over the years, but still it's needs to work on that, and maybe like in 5 to 10 years it might be very interesting. But I agree with you, like you need the story around this. Like, just like put a headset on and that's it is not sufficient. So moving on to your favorite corner, I'll let you read the next news.
The rumor corner?
Oh yeah?
Okay, so there were rumors this week that the new iPhone is going to be switched to USB-C, like the 2019 iPhone. So I guess these are this year's or they're next year's? They're next year's?
Well, is it like cars? Like they come out beforehand? Before the year?
Yeah, but so we're using like the whatever. This would make really a lot of sense, I think, especially ditching. I know like technically Lightning is superior because it doesn't have the thing that can break in the middle, but just making it the same plug as your laptop, because all the new laptops are coming out with USB-C, so you could use a single cable to bring on vacation and all that. But
yeah, but the thing about the thing in the middle that can break, I don't think that's an issue, because it was an issue with USB, because you could put the cable in the wrong side and put strain and pressure on that little tab and break it. So in the case of USB Type-C, there's no right or wrong way. So you won't ever, unless you jam the cable like at 45-degree angle, that could break it, but the rest shouldn't happen. So I'm not too afraid of that. Even my iPhone 7 Plus, my Lightning port starts to behave badly. So I don't think it's even like protected against that. So no, I'm not too afraid of that. The USB Type-C has been tested. The Apple was part of the consortium or whatever that came up with this. So they had engineers on the project, and they were able to participate in that. So I'm not too afraid. I agree it's going to be a nice idea to actually get everything set properly. Every device with the same port, no matter if it's a mobile or a desktop or a laptop. So that's great. I'm just wondering if, would they do it for every phone? Would they try to do like they do with Lightning, like in the single year everything changes? Because they still have like a couple of years back of devices, so not too sure how that's gonna work out.
What do you mean?
Like because
like all the 2019 whatever. So that's not even this spring, and not spring, fall. It's next fall. All the phones are gonna come. All the new phones are gonna come with USB-C, and the old ones that they still ship, they're gonna come with Lightning.
I think it could work if like the same couple of months they refresh everything, like, and not just the main earphone, but they put out a new SE with that same port, and they try to trickle down the lines like that. But yeah, they cannot do the whole thing at once because all the old phones are still there. And what do you think about like accessories? People have built stuff for these. Personally, I have a bunch of dongles that are for Lightning, so that's going to be a pain. One more dongle that's going to be Lightning to USB-C.
Yeah, it was the same thing as 30 pin to Lightning.
Yeah.
When they switched on the iPhone 5, they still sold the iPhone 4S, so it doesn't matter.
I don't think it's needed to switch because like Lightning is, like you said, as good, if not better, depending on how you see it. And I don't think you can say Lightning is worse because everything in Lightning can do. Well, it depends. Can Lightning go USB 3 speeds? That's my only concern, is that now we have USB-C that is super fast and you can transfer large files, which is very useful if you do lots of 4K video with your phone. Then you transfer your videos to your computer and it takes an eternity because it uses the Lightning cable, which is stuck to USB 2. So that's like 19 megs a second or something like that. So it's super slow to transfer. But can we get like a Lightning that is USB-C? If we can get that, if like the port itself, the technology of the connector can accommodate, no, it can, because I think you can use the SD card reader with the iPads, and you get USB 3 speeds with that.
I don't follow.
Okay, so it's okay. Yeah, if last year when they released the iPad Pros, people were wondering if they had some better speeds, and they started to experiment with the SD card reader on the big iPad, the 12-inch, and now the 10.5. They experimented with the SD card reader, that is SD card to Lightning, and they were able to upload pictures much, much quicker than they were with the 9.7 iPad Pro. So this means that the two bigger sizes have a Lightning port that is USB 3 speeds compatible. So the Lightning standard is compatible with those speeds. That's what it confirms. So I don't see any advantage of moving to Type-C, except that you have one single port for everything. But all the accessories, I don't think so. I think this comes from just Apple trying something, like trying to use a USB-C port on their phones and maybe play exactly with what you're saying, like trying to break the little tab in there and see how this can happen, or can this be, I don't know, like alleviated in a certain way. But like for example, the Nintendo Switch, when you want to dock it in the little dock it came with, there's a USB-C port on the back, on the bottom, and there's also two little pegs on the dock, two little pegs that are pointing upwards. And when you're trying to put your Switch in, these little pegs are a conic shape, so they're made out of a cone, and they guide, these little pegs guide the console to be properly aligned, and then at a lower position, there's the port, so it clicks and perfectly plugs in every time, and that's USB-C. So I'm guessing maybe Apple tries something like that, so they can maybe make a special USB-C connector. So that might be what they're doing, but I don't think it's going to be this year for sure, and I would be surprised for next year.
The only thing is, I didn't think about all the docks, like all I thought was like accessories that Apple sells, but there are a bunch of third parties sell docks too. Like you use the Studio Neat dock, no?
Yeah, so that new USB-C cable would need to be the exact same size, so I can fit it inside the same dock, or else my dock is useless.
Right, so, and that dock accepts like different cables. A lot of docks don't even have the connectors built in. Like the dock you gave me, the Belkin one, that one doesn't work.
Yeah, because it's actually inside the dock. It's a permanent cable.
Right.
Yeah, but even my dock, like the Studio Neat one, it works with a Lightning cable because it's been made for the specific size of the cable head. If that cable head is wider, thinner, longer, it might not work. So it was made purposely for that cable. So if the cable, like for example, if you look at the size of your MacBook Pro cable, which is much more thicker, the cable itself, and also the connector itself on the plastic white part, that white part is very large, very bulky. That will never fit inside the dock. And then I need to to bend the cable like 90 degrees and then route it in an S shape, little path, so it can stay like it is without any extra screws or anything. But you cannot bend a USB-C cable like that, like at the moment. So it's going to be tricky. So hopefully, I hope they don't do it, so nothing changes, because there's no real technological way. There's no technical reason for them to do it. Not like 30-pin, which was limited in a bunch of ways and had to be changed just because of the size. And now they had an idea for a smaller size, but now USB Type-C is small, but Lightning is even smaller. So we'll have to see, I guess. All right, for the gadget corner this week, I just backed a new project on Kickstarter yesterday. It's called the Genki or Genki. I'm not too sure if it's a like GIF or GIF kind of thing, but it's a little USB-C Bluetooth audio module for the Nintendo Switch. As you might know, the Switch has Bluetooth because the Joy-Con, the two controllers, are connected and paired to the console via Bluetooth. But Nintendo did not include any functionality to have wireless headphones connected to the console. So you only have the 3.5mm jack on top, and that's all you can use. So what people were trying to do and come up with a solution is to try to use some of those little dongles that are Bluetooth receivers, that you can use like in stereos and stuff like that. So it plugs in using the 2.5mm. It works, but oftentimes it's a big thing. It also oftentimes have a cable, so it dangles in the back while you're playing. It can also unplug itself after putting strain on your port for many, many hours of play. So it never really was a perfect solution. People in Reddit are super creative. They added like Velcro patch to the back of the console and they stick it to there. Then when they remove it, it still fits the dock. So there are solutions. But now this guy called Human Things company, they put out a new Bluetooth 5 USB Type-C aptX low latency Bluetooth dongle that you plug not in the 3.5 millimeter port, but in the USB-C port. And what this means is that you can have finally wireless audio, but the coolest thing is that you can have two-player mode. Like the dongle supports two sets of headphones. So if you want to play, let's say Mario Kart, so you put a little console on its kickstand, you share a Joy-Con with a friend, you both have your headphones, and you can play the game like that. So there's a little buttons that are matching the colors of the blue and red Joy-Con, so that's pretty cool. And I think they got all the back they wanted. I hate Kickstarter now. It says, okay, because now it translates the dollar amount in your local currency. They wanted $30,000, and I think they got it into like 2 hours. And now it's at 1,700 backers, 33 days to go, and they already passed 100K Canadian, which is 83K US. So it's not that affordable. I got the early bird, so it's about 30% off. So I got it for $35 US. When I clicked it, there was still one left for that $29. Was it $29? Yeah, $29, the day one edition. But when I clicked it and tried to back, it said that it wasn't available anymore. So I wasn't able to do that. But still, I think this is a great idea. For me, I usually do is I have a spare set of the headphones in my Switch case, or I use the Bose cable from my wireless headset to plug in physically into my console when I'm in the bus or the metro. So it's not the best, but that's how I use it right now. I thought about getting one of those little dongles in the past, but wasn't too sure if it's gonna work properly, because I actually bought one on Amazon and returned it because it was not a transmitter, it was a receiver. So that's the kind of thing you have to watch for. And yeah, but in the end, I think it's going to be quite interesting to have this little device there. And the cool thing is, if you get one of those little USB-C female to USB-A male adapter, you can actually plug it inside your dock. So the dock has a little door where you can route the cables, but there's also USB ports in there. So you can plug it there and play wirelessly in your living room on your Switch with wireless headphones. So that's pretty cool.
I can't believe they don't have Bluetooth on the Switch.
Well, yeah, but they have it for the controllers, but I'm
Bluetooth
guessing,
audio.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that for some reason, maybe because they support like multiple sets of Joy-Cons and multiple sets of remote controllers in the same console, that having Bluetooth would either introduce a delay in the audio or would deteriorate the quality of the controls. So I'm guessing it's a physical limitation using probably a Bluetooth 4 chip that they maybe custom engineered or customized at a point where they can have like, I don't know how much I think it's like four sets of 2 Joy-Cons. So in theory, 8 controllers at the same time on the same console, which is not anything either. It's still a great feat of engineering, but adding Bluetooth audio with no latency would be a problem too. So that's what I'm guessing. People are still hoping that it's going to be unlocked in a future update, but I'm not holding my breath for this one. I'm pretty sure that kind of thing is not going to work in the future.
Do you use it like in the bus or whatever? Or it's only at home in the dock?
No, I use it in the bus, especially during winter when there's more traffic and it takes longer time to reach my workplace. That's where I usually play with it. If not at home, I kind of do couch playing on the TV, but oftentimes just take like after like an hour or an hour and a half of play, you want to change your position on your couch. Well, oftentimes I would just lay down, stretch my legs, and take the console on me. So I'm playing like hands in the air. So it just allows me to have different setup position on my couch and to just adapt my position to my gameplay, so I can get the console on me and not just look at the TV. So it's pretty great. And also I'll change remote controllers often. I would go from the large Pro controller, which is like the Xbox and the PS4 controller, to the little controllers if I'm more in a cramped place or if we are playing on the couch. And so it's very versatile and there's a lot of options, and that's what I like with this console. So it's still going. So you still have 33 days. You can still get it for $39 US. That's $52 Canadian. And I think there's a $10 $10 charge for the dock adapter if you want. But I would suggest not to buy it there. I found it the same kind of adapter on Amazon for $7 Canadian. So I added it to my wish list. Once I get this sometime in October, they say, because I wasn't able to get the day one.
Let's take bets on that.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, usually Kickstarters are late, but not all the times. Like, I'll do a little rundown of my latest backings. So, okay, right now the only one I have running is the Genki. In the past, I had a little wallet that is RFID protected and everything, and that wasn't too expensive. Delivery in May. I got it in May. Yeah, this one I got it in May. The Cosmos titanium pen, I got it in November, so that's fine. The folding sunglasses, this one was October. I think it was right. Yes, I think it was October too. Pano book was right. The
Panel
Roadie
book
2.
is late.
It was late?
Yep.
It was not in October and we got it?
No.
No, it was during the winter. You're right. The one was late. Yeah, true. Okay, so 1 point there. The Roadie 2, which is a automatic tuner for your guitar. I got this one. Oh, cool. I got the early bird 48 hours only. So I got really like one of the first. It was for October, and I remember having it for my birthday, which is early October. So that was fine. One I never got yet was the Design Canada, which was a design project. It was estimated for September 2017. Still not delivered. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I think I will not go down with all my pledge because there's a bunch of them also. But in the end, yeah, you're right that usually project can be late. I'm not that distrustful of Kickstarter because when it's late, there are usually good excuses, and it's after all, it's not like a store purchase. It's a project backing, so like things can change. Things can be a little bit harder to manufacture, especially for a physical product. But even for games, like a bunch of video games that I backed on Kickstarter, they took like an extra year or two to deliver, and like by the time they delivered it, I was not too interested to play that game anymore. So that's why I'm not backing any more video games. If it's Indiegogo, I only have negative experience, like fake products or like products that are still ongoing, but I think it's been like 3 years. So, but Kickstarter, I don't know if it's because they have a better process to make sure people are delivering their products or not, but it's much more reliable from my experience. So we'll see back in October if I have it. I'll try to contact the project lead to maybe be in the first batch, try to review it also. Maybe get it faster like that, because I think it's September for the first batch that I missed by one. So we'll have to see. All right, moving on to Coffee Corner. It's been a while since we discussed coffee. So I've been running a little Nespresso machine for a couple of months. I reviewed it on the podcast and on the blog and on YouTube a couple of months ago. And I always had the classic Nespresso, which is the one with the very small cups, not the dome-shaped ones, not the super large cups that you can now buy. They are called the Virtual Line, I think. I always had the classic ones. And why? It's because I always had little plastic reusable cups, so I can get my freshly made coffee from Café Vrac, Northern Coffees, from Sherbrooke, and get it delivered to me the next day. So I get super fresh coffee whenever I order it, and I can use that coffee and all kinds of coffee in my espresso machine. So for that reason, I always wanted to keep the classic Nespresso machine. But to get the perfect tasting espresso coffee with custom little cups like that takes a lot of practice. And if you're like me and you order 2 or 3 kinds of coffee And by the time you get to your second or third pouch, they are a bit older and they can be drier, they can be oilier. So it's always a matter of adjusting the grind and the pressure and everything. So it's a big hassle in the end to get the exact settings. And if you have the memory that I have, which means no memory, you keep on forgetting your settings, and I'm not wise enough to write them down. So most of the times when I'm trying to get myself a nice espresso, it's not that nice. So it's never reaching exactly the level that you get from actual Nespresso cups that you buy in the store. But then I stumbled across a product called Blue Cup. I think I mentioned it on the podcast a while back. It's a reusable cup, once again. Instead of being a cup with a little cap that you clip on, it's a cup with a rubber gasket around it, and it comes with pre-shaped aluminum foils. So what you do is you use the little included tool to snap the capsule in a little holder. You fill it with coffee. You just tap it to make sure that the coffee is settled. Then you use a large plastic, how can I call this? Like a large plastic adapter on which you put the capsule. Then you drop on top the little foil, and you add the second part of the plastic instrument, and you twist it so that the twist motion will actually snap the foil around the edge, the lip of the capsule. So you can have a custom filled capsule with the same foil that Nespresso uses. So I don't know if it's the foil that makes a difference. I'm guessing it is, because the capsule has the exact same shape of the ones I had before. But the fact that you have a little foil probably impacts the way the air and the water gets pushed through. Therefore, you have the same crema as you have with the regular Nespresso cups. But the cool thing is you only have one thing to look at and to experiment is the grind size. You don't need to temper it. You don't need to press it. You just fill it up. You tap on the side to make sure it's really filled. Then with your finger, you just cut it straight and put a little thingy on top, and that's it. So I started with my my grinder set to 2. It was having trouble dripping the coffee. It was too fine. Went to 3. It was better, but not every time. So if I was to tap a bit more and put more coffee in it, at setting 3, it would still have trouble dripping. And I moved to 4, and that's perfect every time. Every time I make a copy. Yeah, fax machines. Every time I make a cup, I have the exact same results. So it's cumberless. It's very fun to use. It's very easy. And what you want with an espresso machine, usually it's reproducible results. You want the exact same coffee day in and day out, and which I did not have with the Coffee Duck cups I had before. But with the Blue Cup, it's exactly what I want every time. So that's pretty cool. The only downside I would say is that you need to purchase more of those little foils. The box come, I think, with 100, which is almost, it's more than half done for me. So I'll need to purchase more. But given that you have the exact coffee taste that you want, the texture, the crema, everything, and it's super simple. There's no, like tempering. Tempering is fun when you have a manual espresso machine because that's part of the experience. But if you have an espresso machine and you just want, put the cup in there, press the button and drink, you don't want to play with it too much. You don't want to make a mess on your counter. So this little thing is much, much cleaner and much better with the results.
Do you know if they make anything for the virtual line or not yet?
Not yet. I don't know if it's possible. Do they pierce?
Because of the barcode thing?
Oh, there's a barcode. You're right. The DRM inside.
Yeah, that's the whole machine. Thing there about the virtual line. It's supposed to read your cups and understand what it's supposed to do, or make custom like brew times for whatever cup you put in.
Yeah, because so they have specific settings per type of coffee and per size of cup. Because the virtual line has 3 or 4 size.
Yeah, I think it's up to 4 now. It used to be only 2.
Yeah, there's a super large one who can make you like those. What do they call it? Starbucks, not grande, but the.
I don't know the XL. I refuse to say the Starbucks sizes.
Yeah, the venti. Yeah.
Venti means 20, so 20 ounces.
Yeah, that's a lot of coffee. I don't think our stomach is actually 20 ounces. So
So what? You can't hold the whole thing?
stomach volume. Come on.
Yeah, but I guess it gets in the stomach and it goes straight to the.
Yeah, there's probably a part that goes to your digestive tract right away, but still, it's it's a lot of coffee. You don't drink that like in a minute. Usually, people who buy those venti, they kind of stretch it the whole afternoon/day, reheat it oftentimes, so it's not the same thing.
I don't mind cold coffee.
Yeah, me neither. Depending, if it's the end of the glass and there's a little grit in the bottom and it's cold, it's hard to take. If it's hot and there's a little grit, I can live with it. But I think with the cold taste, it's weird. But I agree that if I have, let's say, a venti, or I usually take a grande, so it's still big, but it's not too big. When I get to the bottom third, it's usually cold, and I don't mind. I would love to have like a cup reheater on my desk and make sure it's always hot. But
a colleague has one, a USB one that plugs in. He got it for Christmas from his mom.
Nice. Well, it makes sense because your coffee's always hot, so it's cool.
It's a colleague that you know there that you worked with.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, you got it. Okay, nice. All right. So yeah, go back to the coffee cups. Yeah, I think that first of all, yes, there's a DRM reason, but that's not the only thing. If you remember, the K cup brought out a machine that was the same way, and people invented a way to circumvent the barcode scanning. And you could use reusable cup with them. So that was not a problem. I'm guessing it might be more of the way that the machine handles the cup. I know for the small classic Nespresso, there's a little ridge around the bottom where the machine usually perforates the cup. In this case, it's hard plastic, so it cannot be perforated. It's already pre-perforated around the edge. So I can see even on the cups I used maybe 50 times, I got 8 cups. So because by default two comes in the box, and you can buy a spare set of 6, and so you can make a bunch of cups, and then you just store them in your cupboard, and when you're ready, you just use them. So there's no perforation on the hard plastic. So maybe the problem with the virtual line is that they need to be perforated in a way that is not yet perfected, or maybe there's other sensors in play that are giving us problem to, I don't know, invent a different type of cup. So the startup kit, which includes the 2 cups, the 1 bag of coffee, the adapter to twist on the little foil, and a set of 100 aluminum foils, that comes at 32 euros. So that's the starter kit I got. And I got an extra, the little capsule pack, which was a 6-pack of capsules. I don't think they have it anymore. Now they seems to have a box of 10, so it's a little bit more expensive. That box of 10 is 25 euros. So it's still a very interesting product. I really recommend it if you have a classic Nespresso machine. If you have a virtual line, sadly there's no solutions for now. I'm going to ask them if they're going to come up with a virtual line solution, and if there's a problem with that other than the DRM, maybe there's also another technical issue which I'm not aware of. So it's going to be interesting to see what they think about this.
I'm due for a little coffee upgrade.
Oh, coffee upgrade. My kind of words.
No, but just something new. I think I really want a grinder, but then I've been hearing your experience with your grinder coming to pieces and trying to get replacement parts. And
yeah, well,
I know they're super good and they're what you're supposed to get, but it just turned me off.
Yeah, Baratza. I have a Baratza Virtuoso, which is I think it was close to $300 Canadian. So it's quite expensive. It's near commercial grade, not exactly commercial grade. But I started to have problems with it. I have it for 4 or 5 years at least. And I had problems with the motor dying. I got a replacement for free, so that was great on their part. But then they had other parts that were cracking, there's plastic in the mechanism. And that plastic over the years, and probably because of use and everything, the plastic tends to crack eventually. So I had to replace 2 more parts that were made of plastic, including the gear, so the gear wheel. So like I had like maybe 4 or 5 dealings with Baratza. Most of them they were covered and they replaced the parts for free. And in 2 occasions, I sensed that they were kind of fed up with me, so I just bit the bullet and bought the parts online. So it's not that expensive. It was like probably like a $12 or $13 US order, so $20 Canadian to get it shipped here. So not the worst thing. And now, right now, as of 2018, it's fully working. Like I got the motor changed a second time because they thought might be the problem I had, which I didn't pay for. Then I got the gear plastic changed this year, and I got 2 more plastic pieces changed this year. So now everything seems to be working fine. Of course, until the next plastic part cracks over time, which is something you cannot skip and it will happen eventually. But if you're not to get that model, if you're looking to get something else, there are other similarly rated grinders for coffee. So it really depends on what you're looking for. What's the other company?
Coffee grinder company?
The Rocky something, Rensselaer Rocky, yeah. So this one's a bit more expensive. It's $370 US. This is often considered the best home grinder you can get. So it's I think it's closer to be a commercial grade than the Baratza. So you could get it. Yeah, maybe there are refurbished that are cheaper, but there's a bunch of accessories. You can get like a portafilter holder, or you can get like a how do you call it, like a reservoir where the grind coffee comes in, and then you use like a little tab. You move from left to right to give your little portafilter a little bit of coffee. So there are options. This is interesting, but it's still very expensive.
Was it the one from Rancilio?
Yeah, exactly. The Rensselaer Rocky.
Okay, we had this at work where I used to work.
How was it? Did you have any problems with it?
No, it was for the decaf coffee, so I never used it.
Oh, come on. You could have at least tried it.
And it wasn't the big one. It was there were like 3 associates, and one was like super, super intense in coffee. And we had this really big industrial grinder, and we had this huge Rancilio machine. And then we had this little Rancilio grinder for the decaf.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Rocky is our cheapest grinder. So at $370 US.
A real industrial grinder is really nice.
Oh yeah, but at
like the consistency is perfect, and then like just the feeling of when you bring like the how do you call it, like the clap there thing to fill up your portafilter.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
What machine did you have? Like a 1 serving or two or 3 servings? Two. So it's probably like $5,000 to $7,000 per machine.
Yep.
Oh, 9,001. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I wish we had those manual machines at work, but then again, with the number of people that we are, it's gonna take like an hour to get your coffee in the morning.
Yeah, that was the only problem, but we were like 20, so
yeah, that works for 20. Yeah, we would need like a little table near where our developer tables are and have it there instead of being the main kitchen. Because now our machine, we have a Jura machine, and it's a more recent model than they have on the 3rd floor and 4th floor. So all these people come downstairs because the coffee is better. It's the same physical grains, but the machine being newer, I guess it better doses the coffee and gets a better taste. So we got everybody from the 3rd floor to come downstairs to get our coffee. So
yeah, at work right now we have the Seiko Royal machine or something like that. It's okay.
So other than the grinder, what types of upgrade are you looking for?
Basically just a grinder, because I'm tired of hand grinding.
Oh yeah, true. You have the little Hario hand.
Yeah, that we used to use at work there way back when.
Yeah,
we used to make like 4 coffees. Everybody would grind his own coffee in the little like it's not even a cafeteria. It was like just a closed room with a fridge and a sink to put your lunch and heat up your lunch. We used to stand in there and grind our coffee. People would come in and put their lunch in the fridge and be like, "What are you guys doing?" And we had the AeroPress set up. And
yep, Yeah, all the coffee nerds get together and crank their arms to get their coffee grinding.
We all had our own beans that we store in our little drawers.
Yeah, true.
But I do exactly the same thing, but alone at home. So it's less fun.
It's less fun. It's also a lot of work if you want to like to get a 1 or 2 coffee done. It's okay, but one time I had like 10
friends and
family, yeah, and I think I had to make like 12 coffees. Shit, that was long. My arm was dead after that. So yeah, I understand your pain.
Yeah, I've never done it. When a lot of people come over, they either get the Nespresso, but even then it's like cup by cup, it's pretty long, or they just don't drink coffee. Or I have friends that have their own presses, so if they want coffee, I say, here you go, you know how it works.
Yeah. All right, that's it for RGBA number 93. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/93. You can find us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. You can find me on Twitter at Vallier, VALLIERES.
And you can find me at Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.